So welcome everybody. This is how it is in my life. I prepare a lot, I stand by, I practice, and then it comes time to present and my little heart gets beating fast. So I now present to you the most important, incredible, timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision for June 27th. The soul's call to freedom. And when Gary started saying the different definitions of soul, whenever the meditation matches with the visual of what I think should take place or what God is expressing through me, I get excited. So one of the things when I first started the talk, I thought, what is freedom? Because freedom means different things for different people. So freedom is a noun, and there's several different explanations of it. The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. And we have freedom of choice. Another explanation is the absence of domination, that we have freedom to speak our mind, freedom to fight for our rights. We're going to champion for our love. The state of not being imprisoned is my favorite, since I worked with the Freedom Light Prison Ministry for years. And the example that Webster gave is that the shark thrashed its way to freedom. That's one way to go about it, but we're going to talk about a different way today. There's so many explanations of freedom of being physically unrestricted, that the shorts had a split for freedom of movement. That's a good one for me. The state of not being subject to or affected by something outside of ourselves, a particular undesirable thing. But the most important definition that I want you to know, or statement of freedom I would like to share, is freedom is your birthright. Freedom is your birthright by virtue of your breath. The freedom to be, do, and have anything that your heart desires, anything that is calling or tugging upon you to express is yours to do. You have the freedom of choice. You have the freedom of dressing the way you want. In fact, by show of hands, who here had someone dress them for today? I want to see. Okay, so you all had the freedom of choice. You got to dress yourself the way you wanted. You got to express yourself the way you wanted. And that is what I consider the most important freedom, is the freedom of choice. By virtue of your birthright, you are allowed to be whoever you believe yourself to be. So I want to do a little experiential with you. I want you to simply just take a deep breath in, fill your lungs with God, the life-giving force. And then as you exhale, just gently close your eyes or lower your eyes at a gaze. With your hand on your heart, it can be in your mind, the imagined mind sequence, or the actual movement of putting your hand on your heart does not matter. The intent to do it is what matters, because your mind doesn't know the difference. So with this beautiful, relaxed state of freedom, what brings you joy? And notice as you answer your own question, what brings you joy? What gives you that sense of freedom? And if you just take a quick second, look around, notice what you're doing, where you're at, and who you're with. Just notice what brings you that sense of freedom. And now take another deep breath in and ask your higher wisdom self to show you where you feel restricted or limited. And notice how that feels in the body. And again, simply notice what you're doing, who you're with, and where you're at. And did the two memories or feelings or thoughts feel different for you? And as you take another deep breath in, just open your eyes and let me know. Were you able to remember times of joy, freedom? Were you able to give yourself that gift? Anybody want to share or raise a hand? Okay, everybody's talking at once. It makes it hard. All right, go ahead, Jan, please. Unmuted though.
Three things immediately came into the place of joy. The first word was community. The second word was grandchildren. And the third word was music.
Mm.
Those are the things that floated to the top and completely opened me up.
Those things brought you joy.
Absolutely, all the time.
And did those things feel like freedom to you?
Yes, when they're not restricted in any way.
There's the key, right?
Right.
So the power of your imagination, thank you, Jan, the power of your mind, you were able to give yourself that sense of expanded freedom, and you were able to give it contrast with what it feels like to feel restricted. So how important is it for the focus of your mind? How important is it for you to be set free by the experience of your choices, of what you think about and what you talk about? And I love that when I asked her to share about that she wanted to share the three things that made her feel free. It's not as much fun to talk about the things that restrict us. So the seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of man. But like the prodigal son, man must make the great discovery for himself. So how many of you know the story of the prodigal son?
Yeah.
Right? Well, the prodigal son is the one who spends money recklessly, extravagantly, a person that leaves home and behaves recklessly, but later makes a repentant to return. And a repentant is just to change the focus or to move away from what you don't want back toward what was good and right from the beginning. So the prodigal son returns, and that is you. That is inherent in each and every one of us. The first slide I was going to share with you today would say, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create a man in bondage and leave him bound would be a dishonor to the creative power, which we call God. We believe God to be love. We believe God to be the source of freedom, of joy, of health, of wholeness. And to believe that the creative intelligence would bind us and then leave us there with like that is to dishonor what we believe about God. So we want to be in alignment with that which we say we believe. The body is designed to grow, to adapt and change. People change. And if you don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen, just go pick out a pair of pants that's in your closet from 3, 5, 10 years ago, and then see how well they fit.
Why you got to go there?
I know. I'm sorry. But the whole thing is that our body changes. Things are meant to change. Nothing is meant to stay the same. We were once babies that had to be carried, and now we're up and independent and on our own. Yesterday is yesterday. Today is the gift of today. Tomorrow will bring its own fun. Healing and demonstration takes place as our minds become attuned. And I like attune because that is alignment with the music, which is the kinesthetic part of us, the melody, the one song that is vibrant through our voices. They become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing. but there is generally a process in healing. And that is the process that we think the time and effort that we will undergo to be in relationship with that truth. So we are whole, complete, and perfect at every point and place. We hear that over and over in Science of Mind. But when we use our imaginations, when we listen to the intuition, when we do the spiritual practices, we're not just dreaming. We're not dreaming to be free. A prisoner in prison can dream of be free, but think that he is so guilty and bad that he'll never be set free. And believing in an outside influence is going to bind him to that prison. And even if he gets out, he's going to go back in because that's his belief of what he deserves. So the power behind you, in you, as you, is the power of God that delivers that freedom to choose. A dream without belief is just a fantasy. So freedom is a desire of the heart that's supported by and with the energy of God moving through you, as you. All that is required for you is to simply believe. And I love believe because it looks like be, live. Just be and live. Be your truth. Be in a power greater than anything that you can see, feel, or touch. Life expresses through you. You define the experience and give it a value and belief. You do that. You say the world is good. You say the world is hard. You can say the world is kicking my tuchus, or you can say I am ready to live and express and love everything that comes into my life because it's either going to give me what I want or make me better at it. Those are my options. Win and win. Are you with me? Who's coming with me besides this fish? Okay, sorry, I digress. Surrender and accept the truth to be free. My second slide is you are to see that spirit creates all things by the power of its own word. Your spirit creates things with the power of its own word. And that you are that spiritual being. You are here. You are to hear that inner voice of truth, which is ever proclaiming the freedom of life, the eternal unity of God with you. Science of Mind is not here to fix you. You're not broken. Nobody's broken. Science of Mind is here to reveal truth, to tap the potential of an authentic life. It gets confusing because we always say we're whole, complete, and perfect. We're made in through the image and likeness of God. But a lot of times people get stuck. And what did we get stuck on? We get stuck on the power of our own thoughts. And I don't know if anybody here remembers, but do you remember the old 45s or the 33s when things really got cool? And the needle was so sensitive, you had to delicately put it on the record to hear the music that comes out of it, right? Life is an excellent way to call forth love and gentleness with prayer. But sometimes that 45 would skip. It could even skip on a little bit of dust. So we'd blow the needle, we'd blow the record, we'd put our breath on it, right? And that Science of Mind teaches us how to move past the skip of that record. And it will teach us to move past that skip until you record and reveal the next song that is longing to be free within you. So let's take a look at that for a minute. I've been on the planet long enough to experience the music of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 20s. So what were the hits, the number one hits of the 50s? Does anybody remember? The number one hit that I Googled, anybody know? I don't want to take away the fun of participation, but I'm going to tell you. The hit in the 50s was Good Night, Irene. Does anybody know that song? Good night, Irene. Sing it, Jan, you remember? Anybody? Oh, look at Django, you caught me. But the one in the 60s, is this one going to be easier to remember? The twist?
Come on, baby. Let's do the twist.
Come on,
Come on,
baby.
Let's do the twist. Yeah.
Yeah, move that body, feel that music. There's a song that's vibrating, that's resonating with the universe, that is seeking to express through you. Let it out. In the 70s, this love sick song that I used to sing all the time. You light up my life. Does anybody remember that one? How about 80s? Let's get physical, physical. Anybody?
Different music.
Oh my God, this is according to Google. I'm sorry, Bertha. Anyway, what was the 80s for you? Do you remember one?
No.
Okay, 90. This one, Nothing Compares to You. Nothing compares. The 2000 hit was Breathe. And 2020 was Blinding Lights by Weekend, which I have no idea what that is. I have no idea who sings that. And Hannah's laughing at me, so I think she knows. So I did this demonstration to show that each stage of our life has different background music, and different cultures and different houses is going to have different music, which Bertha pointed out for us. Thank you, Bertha. Is that we all grew up with different soundtracks of our lives. And that when we play that music, we can remember that feeling, that experience in a heartbeat. We can even start dancing. And some of us can even put our lopsided ponytails on and go right back to the 80s. But sing like no one's listening, dance like no one's watching, love like your heart depends on it. Because God is love. So be God-like. My third slide, which is the healing and demonstration, takes place as our minds, oops, I just read that. Forgive me, but I'm gonna read it again. Healing and demonstration takes place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing. There's just generally a process in healing. So I want to share with you, if there's anything that you blame yourself for, you need to give yourself credit for getting through it. If there's anybody that you blame, skip that process and balance it out with a recognition of the gift that came with it, because the song sounds better without that skip. You have to allow well, you don't have to, I'm being a mom. The opportunity comes when you can look at your life and see, yes, that was challenging, but look at how well I handled it. Yes, it was challenging, but I made it through and it made me stronger. Yes. And remember and balance it out so that you are not taking on water you don't have to take on, or honor the person that hurt you in a way that you can love yourself into fullness. Because I know, and as well as you know, that there's people out there, and they used to say this in prac classes all the time, just because you're in prac sessions because of somebody that hurt you, there's somebody in a prac session because you hurt them. The balance is there, and the sooner that we get to that balance, the more full and free we will feel. To keep your balance so the boat doesn't take on water and you don't drown on dry land. Put it in balance that you can reflect and look at the gift life has given you. It's an honor that not a lot of people get to have. And I wanted you all to read this out loud because this is one of my favorite quotes out of Science of Mind. However, we're going to just read it in and through my eyes and in and through my voice, please. We see abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. The science of mind deals with questions like, then why do I feel weak, poor, or afraid? The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth point to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to the inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. The soul craving freedom is our vulnerability and growth, to stay in the uncertainty so that we can move and not be stuck in, oh, this was fun, so I'm going to stay here. It's like when Reverend Sunshine says, take a deep breath of the good of God, but don't exhale because it feels so good. And then what feels so good now becomes tight in our chest. We've got to let it go so that we can have a new experience of good, of God, of love. Man already has within him the key to freedom, but he must come to realize his relationship to the whole. And this relationship is one of complete unity. That breath we breathe is the same breath that each and every one of us at Downey Center for Spiritual Living breathes, regardless of space, time, location. The breath of God is breathing us, and that is the oneness of all life, the love, the reason for being. The prerequisite of true freedom is to decide that you do not want to suffer anymore. You must decide that you want to enjoy your life and that there is no reason for stress, inner pain, or fear. And I've used this example before, but men in prison become accustomed to being told what to do. And then when they get out, they hear from their loved ones, you can't live here if you're going to do drugs. You can't see the baby unless you're going to stay sober. You can't do this. You can't do that. And the only place they really feel comfortable is back in the prison of their old ways. So they tend to not, they do their best to follow the rules and clear the space for love. But a lot of times they fall back into their own ways because it's easier to clean up a mess than it is to develop the power of the imagination, to use the mind to see yourself in your most desired state, in your most desired place, doing what you love. And even if you have an inkling of knowing what you would love to do with life, ask yourself the question, how can I do this and help people and have an abundant, fulfilling life as a result? Ask quality questions that you may get the answers that support your soul's calling. Universal principles are never respecters of persons. The universe has no favorites. Therefore, it's written, and let him that is at thirst come, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. The universe doesn't care if you come from Yale or jail. If you don't know how to use the imagination, how to feel the success of what's coming in you, if you don't develop those skills that are known as spiritual practices in science of mind, then there could be the possibility that you will have to relive what you know because you talk about the past more than you've developed your skills of the future. And that sounded like a mother. So forgive me for that. I don't want to, I want to get the message across, but I want to do it lovingly. I woke up there. I remember I used to dance to country music, and there was this country song, I'm sick and tired of waking up sick and tired. And then I heard myself say, then decide. I know my freedom is an inside job, then it's mine to change. Decide believe, act as if, all those wonderful things that come with science of mind. Reclaim your life. Be the example of how to be happy. If you blame, then praise. If you praise, then keep it in balance. Don't let the person you're praising become the God, a false God on the altar of your life. Keep it in balance. Let it be an inspiration, but know what you see in others you value inside yourself. Balance your powers so you're not limping lopsided through life. Vulnerability is the ability to learn. You, my friend, are not always right. I'm speaking to me. And if you are, how much fun are you to be around? My friend likes to pull her education card and her money card on me all the time, and she demands respect based on that. And I love her with all my life, and I see her because if I recognize it in her, I know that I am valuing that more than what I value in me. Am I making any sense? Am I? Because I'm using myself an example, because there's only one of us here. The biggest bondage that we have is that we think we should not have problems. That's the biggest bondage. How then shall we grow if we no longer learn or know the value of life? The last slide that I wanted to share was the most revolutionary thing you can do is to be yourself, to speak your truth, to open your arms to life, including the pain. Your love is the most important thing. Love people without the need or evidence of them loving you back. Release your need or desire from people to like you or love you, especially if it costs you your own happiness and destination. Some people, those people out there, even ourselves, will not set us free when they enjoy the advantage of our entrapment. So don't play the game, boys and girls. Needing acceptance or love needing it is to be in bondage. You are the key to your life. You are the key to freedom. You are the key to love in everything, everywhere. The number one key to set yourself free is to love yourself. And the affirmation that they gave with this talk is I consciously and confidently live my own truth. I consciously and confidently live my own truth. And with that, I invite you to just take a deep breath. Allow the love of God to breathe you, to sense and know that the imagination of the mind gave us a visual of everything that we need in God as God, that we sense and feel the oneness, that God is the very breath we breathe. It's the love we feel. It's the life we get to live. God is the power expressing through us, and that we are the divine receptivity of that love, that power, that intelligence, that gift. And in this present moment, I accept and know that everything is beautifully done, beautifully expressed, and everything in it is for my survival, for my love, for my intelligence, for my freedom. I accept and know that I of myself do nothing. It is the spirit within me that does the work. I know this for each and every one of us here. I know that the beauty, the abundance, the health, the wholeness is ours by virtue of our birthright. As we breathe in God, we vibrate over our tongue and express our gratitude with yes, thank you, more please. And so it is.